us.
All
right, it's time for something heavy outside our Beacon Hill studio. On the far end, Peter Kadges of the Boston Phoenix, a man who does not have a computer science degree from Stonehill College.
Correct.
In the middle, Cosmo Macero of O'Neill Associates, a man who, for some reason, thinks he's making a statement by not going to the Avengers. I don't get it.
No interest in seeing the Avengers.
Only the best movie of the year so far. Why would you want to partake in popular culture?
Please.
Let's start with J.P. Morgan Chase. Cosmo, you were the business editor of the Herald for a lot of years. You've seen a lot of this sort of flim-flam stuff on Wall Street. Give me winners and losers in this thing, at least to this point.
I think politically, winner is got to be Elizabeth Warren, at least for the time being. She had the whole Cherokee flapping scandal. No one's talking about that right now. This plays right into her campaign, this kind of an issue. She's going to tee off on this, and she already is. I'm going to say the CEO of J.P. Morgan is kind of a winner, Jamie Dimon. He'll probably be reappointed. I think he's going to lose his chairman's post. Big deal for him.
What? He's still making 20-something million.
The president really had to sort of say, this guy is not a bad guy. This just goes to show that the system is flawed in a way that we have to address it with regulatory issues, because he's a good guy, he's a good CEO. I almost appointed him to my administration and so forth. In terms of the nuts and bolts, derivatives, which is what's at issue here, it's a high-risk thing, but you know what? They can be used to manage risk. It's all about...
Should banks be involved in investing in derivatives is the bottom line, Cosmo.
I don't think you can legislate that.
Sure you can.
I think the Volcker rule addresses how much banks can trade for their own profit, but in terms of particular instruments, that's what the markets are all about.
But the politics of this thing, Peter, the president actually said that Dimon might have been his appointment to Treasury Secretary if Geithner had stepped down. He can't say too much here, but then Romney hasn't said anything because he's Mr. Wall Street.
The one person I know that Cosmo didn't mention is Romney, and this is a loss for Romney. Not a big one, but it's a loss for Romney because it shows how vulnerable he is by being the candidate of Wall Street, and that's what he is. Listen, Elizabeth Warren is the clear winner here. Her call for a renewal of the Glass-Steagall Act, a new Glass-Steagall, which would mean a division of the banks into two categories. One, the good old-fashioned conservative banks, and the other, the more harem-scarum, pirates of Wall Street banks. Make a division. Those speculative banks would be able to use derivatives. I don't think the others should. But the real issue here is these banks are too big. There should be no bank that's too big to fail.
There should be no bank that can absorb a $2 billion hit and say it's just a tempest in a teapot.
Just worth repeating, because Peter makes a reference, and I think he's right about Romney sort of being the candidate of Wall Street. I think we're going to learn more during this campaign that he's not the candidate of Main Street, which I think we understand already. He's also not really the candidate of the Rust Belt or the Corn Belt or any of the job-creating elements of the economy. That's going to be a hang-up for him.
Let's move on for a second, because, Peter, you spent a lot of years down in Rhode Island. We hear today, we're not sure on this story yet, but there are rumblings that 38 Studios, which got a $75 million guaranteed loan from the state of Rhode Island to move there from Massachusetts, is apparently in deep trouble. The governor has been working with them to try and keep them solvent, was the quote. What's your immediate thoughts on this story?
My immediate thought is that my newspaper down there, the Providence Phoenix, more or less predicted this. When this deal went down, we and a number of other wise people said there's been no due diligence. Rhode Island was so desperate for jobs and so blinded by the celebrity of Curt Schilling that they, in effect, wrote this guy not a blank check, but a $75 million check.
Big win for Massachusetts. Took a pass on that investment. We've learned that lesson, right? Evergreen Solar, making those investments, those kind of risks to generate jobs and economic development. Just not a real good bet, Curt Schilling's video game company. They made it, they lose. That's the break.
$75 million on a company that didn't even have a product out at the time was crazy.
They're pre-revenue.
Pre-revenue, I like that. Don't let the president hear that one. Quickly, I got a minute left. Let's talk about the politics of commencement addresses for a second. Mitt Romney over the weekend down at Liberty University. President Obama yesterday at Barnard College, the women's college for Columbia down in New York. What do we make of any of this?
Campaigns are about differences. Romney's going to play to the non-gay marriage element. And the president's going to play to the other side. There's a clear difference there, and they're both going to go in their own directions.
Women are an important part of Obama's winning formula for November. And the very surprising poll out from CBS New York Times, which shows Romney for the first time ahead with women voters. Don't ask me how that happened, but nevertheless, he enjoys a few points lead.
I've been assured, Peter, by someone very close to where we are right now, that his choosing of Barnard was about conviction and not politics.
I would disagree respectfully. It was
Cosmo,
all
except
about
he didn't
politics.
think of that line. It's not even funny. They're the heavy hitters. We'll send it back to you guys in Dedham.